Hello everyone. In this video I decided to talk about my process and how I wrote my first novella called Eden in Black. We're basically now looking at the cover. It's a it's not small, but it's not a novel because I couldn't hit the 40,000 words mark. I think I reached 38, maybe less, I'm not sure, but I had nothing else to say, so I really didn't want to fill it up with words that just didn't make sense. Anyway, I published this book in 2020 in January, and I thought it would be a good idea if you're thinking of writing a novel about, how to write one, or what I went through to actually finish this novel. Now, it took me a really long time. I think I wanted to write it for maybe 4 to 5 years of me just, having scraps of paper everywhere, ideas, and just, trying to connect everything together. Now, the thing with this book, the whole synopsis, I think, or the summary of the book is just Eden is the name of my protagonist. He's an architecture student, of course. I feel like we don't have a lot of novels that feature architects because we're perceived as very rigid, boring people who's just, not very liked. I don't know why, but I really wanted to write a book with a lot of architects in it, and but the book it's not about architecture. I mean, the field is, or the style of writing has a lot of architectural technical stuff in it, but that's not the whole story. So I had this idea. The whole thing started actually when I met someone in 2012. I met this guy, and all I can think of is, I don't know why, it probably was something he said, but while I was thinking, oh my god, what if we had a second chance in life? That was the first thing that just sparked the idea in my head. I should write about someone who gets a second chance in life. And I don't know if this novel, I'm just gonna call it a novel now because it's easier. I don't know if it reached my point, but that was the whole idea, starting the whole thing. So before we even start anything, I wanted to explain the cover. Now, not many people see this, but the cover is featuring a guy, and that guy is Eden, the name of the protagonist, or basically my main character. And let me see. So, I don't know how many chapters I have, I forgot, but writing a novel is not as easy as you think it is. Because at the beginning you're I'll just write a bunch of scenes here and there, and then connect them, have a bunch of characters, backgrounds for characters, we should be fine. It's not like that actually. I don't know how to explain the novel. Okay, maybe I'll explain. I don't know, I'll just scroll through the novel for a while. I don't know why, I just wanted to. And I'll tell you about the things that I found really hard in writing novels, basically. The hardest thing about novels is that characters, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but characters take a life of their own, I don't know what it is, but as a writer, while I'm writing, my character decides to do something else. I don't know how to explain it, it's just they do. And then I find it really hard to, take control over the scene because I'm gonna sound crazy, but like they will do whatever they want, and then I have to fix the reactions of the other characters to the new change of scene, And at the beginning, I found it really hard to control because I was like, oh my god, this character did this, now I have to fix what the other character is gonna do as a reaction to it. And I feel like that was a very hard thing for me because, I don't know, I had to change a lot of things all the time. And what else? I had a problem with figuring out how to start the novel. Now, the first chapter of the novel, I knew that I wanted to start. My entry sentence, oh my god, was at the beginning. The first sentence I wanted basically was, the sky is falling, he gasped, his heart beating fast, blah blah blah. But the thing is, I kept on rewriting the first chapter over and over and over again. It's probably, I think I had 9 variations for the first chapter, which I thought was like gonna drive me crazy. And I just didn't know, because the thing is, when I start my first chapter, I decide to write the whole thing all over again. So I would write, the first time I would write it, I would have 5 chapters in, and then I'm like, oh shit, I don't like the style anymore. So I would rewrite the first chapter, and then go 6 chapters in, and then be like, oh god, I don't like this anymore. And then I was redoing that, and I don't know why I was redoing that. I just felt like it was never good enough. So I think at some point I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to write it. I'm not a writer. I'm not a novelist. I don't care. So I really don't want to finish this because I just cannot. I don't know how, or I don't know how to do it. But, the thing is, the story just kept on, every time I'm doing something else, I'm like, oh wow, that's a really good scene. I should write it down. Because a scene would pop in my head and I would write it down. So I would have a bunch of papers with scenes relating to the novel but not connected. So I had a lot of scrap papers where there's a scene for, I don't know when am I gonna put the scene, but the scene is important for the novel or related to it, and I just didn't know how to connect it, but I just kept on writing anyway because I don't know, I just kept on writing and writing and I didn't know what to do with it, but I was like, what, I'll just write it because if I don't, I'll probably choke. And I was like, whatever. So I decided to, let the novel do its thing, and then I will start another novel. So the other thing that I did, which I think helped, is I decided to write another novel. I would say short story, I think. It wasn't a very long novel. It was a really, really bad writing kind of stuff, but every night before I sleep, I would write a scene or a chapter from this new book, which I'll never publish and no one will ever see, I promise. It was one of the worst stories I've written, but the whole idea was I wanted to find discipline to just continue with the story regardless of how it sounds regardless of the writing style. So I just kept on writing and writing, every time before I sleep, and I was like, whatever, I don't care. So I think after 3 months the notebook finished or the book I was, not the book, but the notebook I used to write the second novel just suddenly had no papers, and I was like, okay. So I felt within the last 2 pages I had to finish the story regardless of where it reached. So I finished that. I wrote the words at the end, and I was like, wow, this feels really good. I felt so good finishing a literary work of art. So I think the euphoric feeling of just finishing it was crazy. I was like, wow, so this is possible for me to finish. So because of that really bad, shitty writing, I found the courage to start with Eden in Black again. Now the thing is, the novel was not called Eden in Black. It was called actually David in Black, based on the guy. His name was David, just so you know. The one I met in 2012. I mean, we're not friends or anything, but like, it's one of those people that you meet once in your life and then you just come up with, you know, decisions about what to do. I don't know. He's one of those people. I think if I saw him again, I won't even remember how he looks like. Either way, where was I? So I started writing Eden in Black again, and I did the same mistake of writing the first chapter again, because I was like, well, this is a new beginning, we should write, you know, from zero. And then I remember talking to my little sister and being like, oh my god, I'm never gonna finish this, I'm gonna die, I'm literally going to die, going to die, and I'm never gonna finish the book. And she's like, why don't you just make every beginning of a chapter another chapter? I don't know what it was, but like, she's like, every time you start something, just make it a new chapter. Like, the beginning of your chapter is a beginning of a new chapter. I don't know if this makes sense, but like, I had a lot of scenes thinking that this is chapter 1, but it was actually just another chapter. And that's when I actually started, you know, moving forward with the novel. And it was really interesting because for the first time I just kept on moving forward and not looking back when I'm writing, because I feel like sometimes when you're writing, looking back can be, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but for me it was not like the best thing to just look at the first chapter and then again, and then go back to the first chapter again, and then do it again and again. I was just going in circles and just not going anywhere. So somehow every morning before I start anything, I would write a chapter or a scene from the book, regardless of how bad it was. I was just like, for some reason, I found the discipline I found in writing a really bad novel just gave me, you know, the discipline to write this one, which is like important for me. So I finally finished the novel. I think it took me probably 4 months to just write all the scenes, put all the ideas that I had inside, and just, you know, finish everything. And then I sent it to like my friend and my mom, and I was like, hello, can you like read this, edit this, what's your notes? And then they found like a lot of loopholes, like it was not a perfect novel at the beginning, and they were like, but this doesn't make sense, what does this have to do with this, who's talking here, I don't understand. So because of that feedback, I had like, you know, I had the chance to like change a lot. Well, not a lot, but like change, because the timeline was also off at some point. Now this novel goes back and forth in time. And so yeah, like I fixed that, and then I think that's it. I think that's it. Yeah, that's how I wrote at the end. But what I really like about this novel is that every chapter, so like here in this page, just before the end, there's a long poem, and I was thinking maybe every stanza or like every line of the poem will be the, you know, the title of the chapter. So at the end, you know, the whole poem will be like the whole story, basically. All my characters are architects except one who's an artist, and a lot of the scenes are going back and forth. There's a lot of numbers in the novel, which I explain what they are at the end. And the whole premise of the novel is basically Eden, being the protagonist, has these weird dreams, and like he doesn't understand what's going on, and you know, he's just like lost in his life, and he has these blackouts, and that doesn't make sense, you know, it's like these nightmares, and then just nothing makes sense at the beginning. And then as you progress through the novel, things starts to like, you know, appear, everything starts to make sense, and like people he thought were like his enemies. Well, not his enemies, but like meaning harm for him, just were like trying to save him actually. And it's all just based on an incident that happened. So I'm not gonna explain exactly what the story is, but like I just wanted to give pointers on, if you want to write a novel, how to do it and not waste so much time. Well, I mean, every writer has their own style or like their own technique, but mine would be is to first come up with a beginning sentence or entry sentence, or like the first sentence of the novel is very important. So because that would just, that's the sparking point of writing. Second thing is to write down your characters, their names, how they look like, their personalities, which is totally adjustable basically. I mean, while you're writing, you can just be like, I don't like him to be, a good person, I want to be a bad person, or like I don't want his hair to be black anymore, I want him to be blonde, I don't know, something like that. But like have at least, a page where you're like, these are the people I want in my novel. I'm not sure what they're gonna do yet, but like you have to even have something called world building, which is basically the place and time of your novel. And the most important thing is to have sequence. I don't know if it's called sequence, but like have a layout. Maybe layout is a better word. Have a layout to how you want the story to go. So say like first scene is, I don't know, a dream. Second scene is the meeting between blah blah blah. Third scene is, and like at least have a layout or a sequence of how you want the events to go, which you can later obviously change and like, reformat and stuff like that. The thing is, I don't want to give a lot of rules because there's no rules in writing. If you ever seen the book called, is it called House of Leaves? I'm not sure, but like there's a book where there's literally, it's a horror book and he just does what he wants basically, and the format is just insane. And yeah, so yeah, I think that was it. Let me see, I talked about my characters, I talked about how I wrote it, and the layout, the characters. So yeah, I think if you have a novel, I encourage you to finish it, no matter how long it takes. It's really one of the hardest things you do because you're the one designing everything, you're the one building everything, you're, writing about literally everything, and you as a writer have to know exactly what's going on, or like at least know what's going on most of the time, and it's not really easy to, control everything from the beginning. And my advice would be to, have a layout, understand your characters, and I think it would be really helpful if you had that one person who's like your inspiration for the story. So for this one, I had it easy because my inspiration happened before the story. So I met him actually before I actually wrote about anything. And if you have that one person who just you think is, you don't have to tell them they're like the inspiration, but like they spark the idea of a character, and then you have this character in your novel. Every time you fall back and be like, oh god, I don't understand anything, just go back to your inspiration or the person who, I mean, he could be anyone. He could be an idol, he could be dead, he could be alive, he could be someone you met, he could be an actor, I don't know, whatever you want. But like every time you fall back into like you don't know what to write, just go back to your basic inspiration, and I believe, you know, it will be a very huge motivation for you to, you know, keep on writing. So I think this was it for the story. The chapters are done, the story is done, thank God. It was the best feeling in the world to write the end, honestly. And you know, like I said, every chapter was like a part of the poem. And yeah, if any of you guys read it, let me know what you think about it. And I hope, you know, this inspires other people to finish their novels, because I feel like there's a lot of stories in the world that are just not told, or just didn't get a chance to be told or written. And yeah, I guess this was it for today's video. I hope it was helpful for anyone who's interested in writing, and I guess I'll see you next time.